What awful, lie hilarious, dating mistakes did you make in your early mid-teens? On a first date with a girl, we decide to just drive around after dinner. We had a great time exploring and found this creepy road back in the woods that was closed, and I decided I wanted to be a rebel and go around the barriers. But she got a little freaked out and objected. That's when I realized from her perspective some guy had picked her up and took her back in the woods in the middle of nowhere on the first date. Unintended, creepy as heck, but I had a second date. On my first date I went to the movies with this girl and I thought it was going great. We laughed and joked about the movie and stuff. After the movie had ended is when everything went wrong. See, I had never been in this situation before, so I really didn't know what to do after the movie was over. I could have asked if she enjoyed the movie or tell her we should do something like this again, but no. I decided the best course of action was to walk out the movie theater and say nothing at all. The worst part was that she even said bye to me as I was walking out the door. This was a second chance. I could fix everything if I just turned around and said anything. Dumb old me turned and said yay see you, and kept on walking right out the door. This still keeps me up at night. I had my first boyfriend in middle school. We didn't last long, but when I decided it was time to break up I was at a loss as to how one goes about ending a relationship. I turned to romcoms for cues and came to the conclusion that I ought to set up a date and break up with him at the end of it. We planned on a movie. I arrived early and took my seat. He came in a little later, handed me some Junior mints, and sat beside me. The previews started and I got really antsy, so I turned to him and told him I was breaking up with him. The end result was us sitting together awkwardly and very upright for the whole movie with me munching on the gift candy, of course. The end result was us sitting together awkwardly and very upright for the whole movie with me munching on the gift candy, of course. This kind of happened to a friend of mine, except they were 2 weeks away from their very expensive wedding and she broke up with him at the start of a 5-hour plane ride. When I was 13-14, I was totally in love with a 19-year-old army guy and I couldn't understand why my dad wouldn't let me hang out with him. I was super immature. Surely he could see that I couldn't date high school boys. Here's 2 stories. 1. I had been dating a girl for a few months in high school. She was 15 and I was 17. On my 18th birthday I picked her up and we went to a baseball field, parked, and just talked for a while. Nothing crazy was going to happen. We were just talking. Right behind me I see the flashing blue lights and am told to put my hands out the window. Then instructed to walk in reverse towards the officer's voice. He asked what we were doing. I told him. He didn't believe me. As soon as he found out I was 18 and she was 15 he decided I was a pedophile. He made me call up her parents. We borrowed their cell phone thankfully, 15 years ago, and her dad explained the situation to the cop. He still didn't believe me so he made me drive her home while he followed. When I dropped her off he even waited behind my car to make sure I wasn't raping her or something. Her dad invited me in but I felt so sketched out that I just went home. Cop followed me the whole way. 2. Went to one girl's homecoming with her. Driving home she put her hand on my thigh right on top of my dong. Instant raging 1000% engorged size boner. I swerved like a maniac and almost crashed. I squirmed so her hand would move. Like a playa, you know. Then when driving down a side street she started kissing my neck really passionately. I asked her, and I remember this so vividly, "Are you trying to make me freaking crash?" And she responded no. She wanted me to pull over. I didn't. I took her home and said goodnight. God, what a moron. That cop really needed to get laid. I was an innocent, inexperienced, awkward young man. I finally dated a girl my senior year of high school who was considerably more experienced. She was well endowed. I was always careful not to make too bold of a move. Towards the end of our short relationship, we were sitting on the floor in my room kissing and she gently pushed me back on the floor, straddling me on her knees and had her tea right in my face. Still clothed, mind you. It was impossible not to glance down at them, which she noticed and said, "You can touch them if you want." Super smooth me reached up under her shirt, grabbed one in each hand and let out a childish woo as I tuned in Tokyo. I don't exactly remember what happened next except I do recall eye rolling. She broke up with me shortly thereafter. My wife fully knows this story and she'll often make the woo sound at me and grab my pecs and laugh when I'm making my moves on her. My current boyfriend tried to imitate a slide whistle noise during sex one time while he was putting it in. It was hilarious. Primary mistake: assuming that no girl could possibly be interested in me, and fleeing in terror from any that showed signs they might be. Just do what I do. Assume every girl wants to get with you and play the part. Life is way more fun that way. I told my mother about my first kiss after she picked me up. It was just a peck. She flipped the frick out and called the girl's parents and chewed them out for raising a mess. Needless to say, she never talked to me again. That's pretty fricked up. When I met my first boyfriend, I really didn't have any experience at all. Old-fashioned first kiss, first BF situation. Once we got in between the sheets one day, I assumed we needed to kiss passionately. Really passionately. I was a bit sick at the time. Running nose, lights out, and I began to kiss him like a maniac. Only to notice after a couple of minutes that I was tasting snot. I smeared snot all over his face. The poor soul didn't say anything about it. We went to sleep. Never mentioned it. Thank God. Or, what a trooper. A fly kept bugging her. She was like, ugh, dang flies, so annoying. And then I said, well, you know, flies, they like to hang around crap. Yep. Accidentally gave my then girlfriend a hickey. Her family found out and made fun of her. When I went over to their place, they made fun of me, as her father just glared at me. Needless to say, it was awkward as frick. You should have said it wasn't me, that would have fixed it. Thought that there had to be some perfect way to ask a girl out, and I couldn't just up to her and say, hey, I like you, wanna hang out? Instead I had to do something dramatic, which led to me learning how to make origami roses. Never actually managed to ask her out. I'm 17. She's 15. We met online. Thankfully I wasn't murdered. We meet up to see a movie, and being a fat guy with a mushroom cut, my mind is blown. She is interested in me. Halfway through the movie I work up the courage and put my arm around her. She leaned in. Yeah, cool guy now, I'm thinking. Few seconds later she leans in for a kiss and I'm like, it's time. So I lean in for what I intended to be a kiss, but instead blew a raspberry on her lips and turned away nervously, hoping this wouldn't be stuck as the worst first kiss ever. It was. I was 16. I took a girl on a date. She seemed nervous, as I think it may have been her first date ever. We went to dinner for pizza. She ordered 2 slices. After she finished the first slice, we talked for a good 20 minutes. I thought she was done and asked her, hey, so are you done with that? She looked at me funny and said, oh yeah, sure. I happily said, okay. Can I eat that so it doesn't go to waste? And she said, oh yeah, sure. I went ahead and finished it. 10 years later we randomly ended up living in the same city hundreds of miles from our hometown and reconnected. We went out a few times, as friends, as she had a BF. And one night she proceeded to lay into me how I stole her second pizza slice and I was rude and didn't give her a chance to finish it. I thought I was fair in asking her, but I learned a great lesson. Never ask for your date's food, no matter what. And even though I thought I was fair, I still cringed at the thought of her harboring ill feelings for 10 years about a pizza slice. Don't feel bad. I'd probably rather have a good slice of pizza than a girlfriend. Was dating a girl. I was probably 14 or 15 at the time and she was the same age. Her bedroom is down in the basement and the rest of the house is upstairs. At this point we'd been dating long enough where we were regularly having sex. One particular time after we kneed up, her family comes downstairs to tell us to come up for dinner. Now when I say her family, it was legit her grandma, 2 aunts, mom, dad, sister and her dog Jack. We are both buck naked under the blankets. She's trying to say that we fell asleep, and we will be up in a second. I'm laying there with my eyes closed and an awkward boner praying that no one grabs the blanket. They did go upstairs, and we made a vow to lock the frickin' door next time. Well, not as bad as some of these, but still kind of a frick up. In middle school I was friends with this girl and eventually asked her out and she said yes. Now I had asked her probably about 2 days before Valentine's Day. The day before Valentine's Day she told me that she had got me a gift for Valentine's Day and that she was sure I would absolutely love it. Then she asked if I got her something and I said of course. The thing was I had absolutely not gotten her a present. So I kind of freak out that I need to get her something. This was made worse by the fact that she was now my girlfriend, so obviously some dumb piece of crap box of candy Hertz would not cut it. So I begged my mom to take me to the store and I eventually got her this cool looking glass rose and teddy bear. The total was like $80 and I spent basically every penny I had to pay for it. But I was glad that I got my girlfriend something cute and was sure she would like it. So the next day at school I give her the gift and she was stunned. She asked me if I had bought this last night and I said no, of course not, I got it a couple days ago since I knew I was going to ask her out. I thought frick yeah, I am awesome. I totally played this right. Well, she looks at me embarrassed and hands me my gift. It was a bag of M&Ms. So I had to play it cool and act like this was a really cool gift. Meanwhile her friends were right there watching the whole thing unfold and totally started laughing at what happened. It was real awkward after that and we broke up not too long after. Still one of the most awkward moments of my middle school career. TLDR. A young ginger cool tries to navigate the waters of middle school. Cringe and awkwardness ensues. Called a guy in middle school. Freaked out for ages. Went through an actual script, including with a friend, and finally worked up the nerve. In my head, I was going to ask him about a movie we'd talked about a few weeks earlier. Ask him to see it with me. He'd say yes. And voila, happily ever after. In reality, it went down like this. Hello, is Brian there? Yep, this is Brian. Hey, it's, Kristen. Oh, hey, what's up? Nothing. You know, so have you seen Fast and Furious yet? Yeah, just saw it last week with Rob. I had no idea what to say because in my script, he hadn't seen it. The silence was deafening. He and I both stayed on the line for, not exaggerating, probably close to a minute. It doesn't sound so long, but imagine staying on a completely silent line for an actual, entire minute. I can't even remember what happened after that point, if he said bye or I hung up or what. I think my middle school self blocked it out to prevent further trauma. This is also the same guy who came up to me and asked for the time once. Unbeknownst to him, I sucked at being able to read time on analog clocks, such as the wristwatch I was wearing, which was more of a fashion accessory than anything of practical use. I got flustered, stared at my watch so long that he actually asked well. I shouted I don't know and walked off quickly from him. Cringe. Oh man. It's time to share my biggest regret ever. I was going out with this amazing girl. She is well endowed, slim figure, nerdy, the whole package. I always had feelings for her back in junior high, but I started to go out with her during university. One day we were watching a movie in her house. Battle Royale. Nice. And she had bought a bag of gummy worms. The movie was at the middle part, and she decided to put a gummy worm on her mouth. For me to bite it, and potentially kiss her in the process. I went for the worm. I was so freaking nervous that I didn't go for the kiss. Idiot. After that worm I should have done the same, but my nerves betrayed me. I never had the balls to tell her that I really liked her. It's something that has been plaguing my mind for the last 6 years, on how I blew it with an incredible girl, and my longtime crush. If that's your biggest regret ever, then you're doing alright in life. My early teen awful mistake was dating someone who was no longer in their teens. Instead of having these wonderfully awkward memories of discovering sex with someone else just as confused eager as me, I only have memories of being shamed for not knowing what the heck was going on. I personally feel there's no such thing as someone in their late teens 20s dating someone in their early teens, only taking advantage of them. Adults know better and any respectable man would not want to be in a sexual relationship with a kid, no matter how old she may look or try to act. Junior year of high school, I had a boyfriend who I really loved. He broke up with me and ended up with this other girl who he was going to take to the spring dance. I didn't want him to see me going to the dance alone, so I asked a friend of mine from work, who went to another school and had a girlfriend, if he would go with me. What I wanted was just for my ex to see me with someone else, but I didn't want to date anyone else, so I figured my friend would be safe as he had a girlfriend. My friend However, thought I wanted to date him and had a very serious conversation trademarked with me about how he wasn't going to cheat on his girlfriend. When I get nervous, I start laughing, so I basically laughed in my friend's face. I didn't mean to. He probably thought that I was laughing at him thinking I wanted to date him, but what I was truly laughing at was the absurdity of the whole situation. I promised a girl who had a crush on me that I would take her out to dinner for her birthday. Then, Iron Maiden announced they were playing that same day. I took her out like I promised. 30 years later and I don't even remember her name, but I know for a fact I should have gone to see Iron Maiden instead. Damn it. At least you kept your promise, which is what you should really take away from that. I was so paranoid about accidentally raping a girl I would ask her, "Are you sure you want to do this?" anytime I thought sex was gonna go down. It totally killed the mood every time. Pulls out a clipboard, and just before, "Can you just pop your signature down here please? Here, and initials here, here are and here. Thank you." Not even in my mid-teens, but I had a date with a girl in a bar and I didn't know what kind of beer the girl ordered, so I asked her what kind it was. She explained to me and then proceeded to do a cheers. She wanted me to taste it, so I took her beer and took a sip out of it and gave it back to her. She looked at me surprised and I realized my mistake. Good times. Before we left for our date, I promised her dad we'd be back by a definite time. He was focused on it. But we got distracted and arrived back to her parents' house a little late. Her father was standing there, staring, at which point, he broke the stony silence by saying, "I was late coming back on my first date, too." The smile on his face told both of us that he understood. Doesn't sound like a frick up at all to me. Seems like a cool guy. Thought if a girl liked you and you liked them and it was known, they would keep liking you even if you didn't call them and talk to them all the time. I've got a veritable smorgasbord of examples. Most of them either relate to younger me being oblivious or freaking out that a woman was sending me signals. Went on a date with a girl in elementary school to see Goldeneye in theaters. She was walking around the mall really fast and I got tired of moving, so I thought I'll be chivalrous and let her walk ahead of me. Turns out following a girl around makes her feel uncomfortable. Middle school, I must have made the same mistake about a half dozen times by telling other people, mostly girls, who I was crushing on, hoping that they'd pass the message on to the girl I liked. Never happened. Freshman year of high school, a sophomore in my calc class asked me to homecoming and I freaked out and said I wasn't planning to go. This was the first of many situations where I couldn't handle a woman approaching me with interest. Valentine's Day every year our school would let people send carnations to other students for $1. White meant friendship, pink meant I like you, and red means I really like you. I got a red one in class and afterwards this girl I know comes skipping up to my locker and asks me if I had any idea who it came from. I respond with no idea, since I don't like anyone at the moment. I was at a family friend's bat mitzvah and this gorgeous blonde a year younger than me spent the night telling me about how there were these cool places she's found around the country club we should go check out. I didn't want to get in trouble with security for sneaking around at night. Asked a girl to go see some movie that I'd already seen which had a heavy McClearett scene in it. Couldn't go to rated R movies yet, thinking it would put her in the mood. When it was getting close to the scene I said, "Are you ready?" She thought I was such a pervert. Bought a girl a Valentine's Day gift since we'd been flirty and decided to bring it to her at her house. Arrived just in time to see another boy standing on her front porch giving her a gift. And then I walked right by him and gave her my gift without saying anything and left. Took a girl to a small local water park on the day that I knew my ex-GF was going to be there with her friends. Since it was an annual tradition for them to go on a specific day, the new girl could tell I'd done it on purpose. Didn't help me at all with the ex either. When I was in GR8 I went for a bike ride with a girl from my school. We went to the park, hung out and kissed too. We get back on our bikes and head home. When we get to her house and she says my parents won't be home for a couple of hours, "Do you want to come in and hang out?" To which I said no. I've got to go home, thinking all about how I wanted to play Legend of Zelda. It wasn't until I was sitting in my room, playing Zelda on my N64 did I realize the terrible mistake I'd made. I'm not going to lie, I've been on a lot of dates. Great dates that I was totally into, where I was like, you know, I'd much rather be playing Majora's Mask, and that's not a euphemism. So I was all broody and angst-ridden, and I decided that I didn't want to go to school dances just to go, that I would only go with an actual girlfriend. So girls are asking me left and right to go to homecoming with them. I assume just so they could go to homecoming. I don't think any of them actually liked me, and I keep saying no. Homecoming passes. Then I get a call from a friend at a different school who complained that she's never gotten to go to a dance and could I take her to homecoming at her school? So I don't want to go, but I feel bad for her, and after some hemming and hawing, I say sure. She lives in the country, and I can't drive outside of town, but she says that's okay, we'll just meet at the dance. So I go to the dance and meet her, and she's brought another date. Seriously, no explanation, no nothing. There's just another guy there. I wasn't offended. Other guy was cool. I wasn't interested in this girl or anything. I just couldn't figure out why I needed to be there if he was. She apologized afterward on the phone. I guess the other guy wasn't speaking to her, so that might have been more seriously. To this day, I don't know why. Did he ask last minute and she liked him but didn't want to cancel with me? She was with a bunch of dateless friends. Did she just want to have extra guys for them to dance with? I've found her on Facebook, and I'm tempted to ask, but then, I think it's probably kind of weird talking to women on Facebook about awkward things that happened 20 years ago. TL. DR. Girl took 2 guys to homecoming with no explanation and a vague apology after. Dude, I'd ask. I understand the possibility of her thinking you've dwelled on it all this time, but satisfying curiosity is a great feeling. Went out with a girl in my freshman year of high school that didn't go to my church. This is forbidden. Told my older brother in confidence. Found out that nothing you tell my brother is ever in confidence. When I first got with my partner, he was still living with his parents, so I used to go round there and we'd hang a sheet over the top bunk to hide us in the bottom. One time we're both naked, going at it, and the door opens. His dad strikes up an entire conversation about God only knows what while my boyfriend is poking just his head around the blanket. Then asks, where did you get a Blackberry? That's Oogapalooza's. Oh, did she leave it here? No, she's here. Awkward silence. Hi Oogapalooza. If you're 17 and a 30-year-old is telling you how mature you are and that he feels a connection to you, run. It's simply not true. No one that age should relate to a teenager. If he does, he's either very emotionally stunted or some other glaring deficiency in his life or personality. Dated a gay guys for 6 months. Was always super impressed at my 16-year-old boyfriend's ability to frick me for 2 hours. Such stamina, I thought. Thinking that waiting to have sex was a good idea. God, I missed out on a lot of fun until I was 18 and finally decided to go for it. I have to assume that you are a man because before you're 18 it's so not even worth the effort. Boys at that age do not know what they are doing. I took a girl to the movies. We got 2 out seats and she hinted that she wanted popcorn. I didn't get the hint. She got up and got it herself. As she was coming back to her seat, I uncrossed my legs to stand up so she could pass and I kicked the bucket out of her hands. It flew like 3 rows. I had many more dating disasters in my teens. That was a biggie though. I've posted this before, but in the 9th grade my best friend roommate was a year older, so I ended up hanging with a crowd of 10th graders. There was a grunge chick in the group. We will call her C. We always joked that C had the biggest balls of us all. She dressed and acted like someone from L7. Apparently there were hints that she liked me, but they all went over my head. She started wearing perfume. I made a joke about being a French W. She started wearing lipstick. I made a joke about rainbow parties. She kissed me once, but she played it off about pee off her racist brother. She flashed me from time to time, but I thought it was all about that punk thing. One day she asks me to go see a movie. The rest of our crew all had other things to do, so it was just going to be the 2 of us. This didn't seem unusual to me. We'd hit up things before as friends. So that day we ended up doing lunch, the movie, record store, bookstore, dinner. We basically spent 10 to 12 hours together and had a great time. End of the night I walk her home. give her a bro hug and offhandedly mention I won't be around for a week or two because the wrestling team had to help with preparations for School Spirit Week. Couple weeks later she started going out with another guy. I had no clue but everybody else thought I might react weird. Just treated him like another part of the group. Finally my best friend asked so what the frick went wrong on the date? I replied what date? TLDR was too dumb to read the signals. Like landing strip into the vagina level of signals. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.